everybody has their own preferences.
Yep.
For me, I put myself through college doing construction, right? So my degrees were chemistry and econ, which is kind of a weird combination, right?
Yeah.
But it was really easy enough for me to figure out. I'm standing and doing a 5-hour lab looking outside at 70 degrees in February, and I'm like, yeah, this isn't going to work for me. And I had my roof done, put my first one on when I was 19 years old in college, and I had my roof done, and I was looking to get out of what I was doing anyway. And I watched the guys do the work, and of course they didn't know I knew what I was watching. And the head of the subs pulled up at my house, and I had an issue around the front dormer, and it was rotting the soffit. And the last thing he told was, he says, you guys got to go redo that flashing around the dormer. And he picked it up, right? And we became friends, and we've created a partnership, and we're still working together 9 years on.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you were just tired of the financial industry in general, and then just like, hey, I'm gonna make a move.
Yeah, I don't know a polite way to say that, but what I didn't know how to do then that I know how to do now was actually I needed to network to find CEOs.
Sure.
Because I was actually pretty good at what I did. I showed some people some of the things I did, and they're like, no, why did you get out of that business? And I said, what part of I hated it did you miss?
Yeah.
You know, I didn't find the reward, and I'll tell you why. There's two actually reasons that drive that. One of them is I'm a very visual person. And so when you're looking at numbers all the time, it's not the same, right? But one of the things that I caught on to very early, because I came in 12, 13, back there, and we helped some people put their houses back together after a hailstorm. And to see the relief on the customer's face,
Right.
we turned their house back into a home.
Sure, of course.
You know, and that was where I got the reward. So as much as sometimes our customers can be very challenging,
Sure.
but to take and put them back in a position that they're comfortable in their home, that their house is now a home again,
For sure.
that was
It's
what
fulfilling.
I enjoyed. Absolutely.
It's fulfilling. We have Mark Fulcher with Top Layer Roofing. You guys are out of
Marietta.
And you've been doing roofing for 9 years now?
Yes, sir.
And you were a financial advisor before.
I know, right?
That's incredible. Incredible. So yeah, I totally understand the fulfillment of helping somebody out. And look, at the end of the day, it wasn't like it was 10 out of 10 people that were like that. For me, how I felt was, and again, I loved what I was doing in the merchant services.
Right.
I didn't hate it. I loved it. I loved it because there's not a lot of people that do. Like I could hit a golf ball. Actually, in this complex, a sand wedge, and hit 4 advisors.
Right.
You couldn't. You can't do that with credit card processing.
Right.
There's not a lot of us that own the small shops. But if I could hit a golf ball real hard, I could hit 15 of them. So it's just there's just a lot of, and then there's a lot of more consumers than businesses too. So I totally understand. But I loved what I did because I'm an expert at what I do, and there's not a lot of people that do what I do. So I did love it, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to get back into the B2B world. It's not that I was like, I'm tired of this. Half of it was I was working from 6 a.m. till 8 a.m., 8:30 a.m. with roofing, going to do the credit card processing job that, was my passion, and working that till 6, and then 6 to 9 at night, working thing, and then on Saturdays, because at first I'm the only one that, my partner could sell too, though, but we were banging doors down, and we could both close 5 roofs on a Saturday a piece because we were just really good salespeople.
Right.
And at that time, that's kind of the way it was going. So yeah, there's a lot of fulfillment. And look, you can go on and say, not only is your roof, like we can do this and make this look better, and just little bitty things that make because the roof is one thing, but you can go and like, hey, do you want me to paint your front door too? And they're
Customer
like, oh my
happies.
gosh, yes. I'm like, I'll do it for $100. You know what I mean? $100 or something really cheap, and we'll have a guy come out there and do it. So little bitty things like that will certainly brighten up a customer's day that doesn't take you much.
No.
It just doesn't.
I always tried to find a way.
Yeah.
My customer would note something, and I'm like, would you be quiet? And she'd look at me like, what? And I'm like, I was going to have my guys fix that. I just was going to do that as a customer happy. You didn't have to pay attention. I already had that covered
That's
for you.
right. There you go.
Just a little extra.
Yep, paint your mailbox. Something, your mailbox looks bad. Something, a little extra that doesn't take a lot of time, that makes the world to the customer.
Right.
So where are you from originally?
Born in Houston, Texas.
Houston.
Houston, yep. And raised in Chattanooga.
Okay.
I moved with my wife here 36 years ago.
And what does your wife do?
My wife is a business analyst for a company called ABM.
Okay. And she had a job in Houston and moved to Chattanooga, and you moved with her.
Exactly.
Okay.
Actually, I was too. My dad worked for Conoco Oil Company.
I know Conoco. Yep.
And they bought KO Oil Company back in the early 60s, so you'd have to be older to remember KO gasoline stations here in Atlanta.
Never heard of that.
They used to be around here, right? KAYO. And so I moved to Chattanooga with my parents, obviously. Today's a pretty special day. My mom turns 96.
Congratulations.
Oh, my goodness.
What's the Queen? I heard the Queen of England is 95 today, right?
She and my mom share the
That's the
same
same
birthday. That's
yeah.
exactly right. That's exactly
Your
right.
mom's older than the Queen of England.
Exactly. And she's a saint, too, because she raised me.
Yeah.
I'm the youngest of 5, and my wife and I met on a blind date in college. Got married 2.5 years later. That's 37 years this summer.
Yeah.
And it's really kind of a cool thing. So my dad was in construction. My dad managed all the gasoline stations for 48 states for Conoco.
Nice.
And, my dad was in the military, so my dad's way of approaching thing was everything just needed to be shot.
That's it. Yeah. Hit it a little harder.
Hit it a little bit harder. And so people would challenge him on how he was getting something completed, and he would like, am I done yet?
That's it.
It's not complete, leave me alone. But he said something that kind of made me, and I think my family, who we are. He said, you know what? You may never inherit $1 from me, but you're going to inherit a name that you can be proud of.
Nice.
I love that.
That's a great saying, yeah.
So a bad reputation follows you around, and a bad one beats you to the door, and a good one follows you around.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
So, just the way we try to approach business in general, and I think hopefully how we approach everyone, right?
Well, that's a good learned behavior, Mark. So you learned that. But most Americans, I would say, did not learn a really, in your financial guide, they didn't learn really good financial habits from their parents, maybe even work habits. So you have to break those habits if that didn't happen. So they're all learned behaviors.
Absolutely. And one of the ways I found to do it was just ask questions. Right? So
Tons of them.
Tons of them. My favorite question when I was in the financial business, which doesn't relate to here, but what's the biggest bill you pay each month? And everybody would answer the mortgage. And I'm like, no. How about your taxes? They take a third of your money before you come home, and you don't even consider it a bill. So it's a way to, when you can ask a better question, you can get a better answer.
It is a bill.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a big bill.
Absolutely. I wish everybody paid our checks like we do.
Dude, I could pay for a lot of houses for the taxes I pay. I could have one in every city in the United States by now.
Right.
That's for sure.
Right.
You think the Queen of England has ever paid for anything? I'm talking about paid. Do you think she's ever held cash or a debit card or a credit card in her hand? Do you think she's ever paid somebody?
I don't know that she's paid people, but I'm sure that she's offered some gratuities. You know what I
mean?
mean?
Hey, we'll pay for that, but somebody else does. I'm sure the kids, Harry and William, I'm sure that they, when they were out and about, they paid for some things and had a card on. But I don't think she probably ever paid for anything with her hand.
Isn't she on the money?
Yeah, she's on some money.
That'd be cool to pay somebody with a bill that has your face on it.
Yeah, it's like Coming to America. He has his own money.
Could he just?
He has his own money. He has his own money.
Could she just take a picture of herself and use that instead?
Sure, I'm sure. They're rich. They're very, very rich anyway. So, I tip my hat to Harry for getting out of that. It was weird because he had to have. They said on the radio that he had to have him and I think William and Charles wouldn't talk to him at the funeral without a witness there for some reason.
You got me.
It's gone way too far if you can't talk to your
you
brother
know,
and your dad.
all families have a little bit of dysfunction, but that's,
Of course.
you know.
Well, I think that, you know, the court has had dysfunction forever, right? The king and queen courts have always had dysfunction, right?
Oh, absolutely. You know, there's always a lot of, well, anywhere you go, right? Like human nature's human nature. Mm-hmm. We're all bitten with the 7 deadly sins.
That's right.
Right? So it's us learning to battle our innate nature that is the challenge. And when there's power, there's people who are trying to take advantage of power, right?
That's right. What are you involved in here in there? And y'all are in B&I together, correct?
Correct.
I met him in a B&I, yeah.
What else are you doing marketing-wise?
So we do, mainly we're relationship driven. You know, we've built relationships with insurance agents, property managers. Those are important relationship partners with us. We've got sales reps up in Chattanooga, so we're doing a little business up there. Do commercial as well as residential. Business has been kind of interesting. You know, we've had a lot of business. You've seen the stories about price increases. We've taken several of those ourselves. The price of wood is ridiculous these days.
That's what I've
sure.
heard. Mm-hmm.
That's why the houses have gone up so much, because you can't build one for close to what you can buy one. So
Correct.
they've gone up a crazy amount.
Oh, my youngest son is in the market trying to find a house, right?
So you sell up, you buy up too right now. So
Yeah, right. So he's trying to find his first house. Mm-hmm. So he put an offer in a house in Woodstock, and it was listed at $250.
yeah,
He put an escalator clause to $270, and it was sold at $271.
I would like if I was in his situation right now, I wouldn't buy because the bubble's gonna pop. I would rent.
That's what I told
I
him.
would rent or do something because you're right now. Look, my neighbor's house is under contract and is gonna sell probably in the next week or something. Like
Probably in the
3
next
days.
day.
No, it's already under contract. It got under contract in
Right.
in 5 hours, but it probably is about to close in the next day. Like literally, we're gonna have new neighbors in the next day or two. But we built that house 6 years ago for like $360, and they're selling it for $500. And we don't, we owe a lot less than $360. So it's a bubble. It's gonna pop. And Allison, my wife, goes, we should really think about selling. I was like, where are you're gonna sell? You're gonna sell up, but you're gonna buy up too, Allison. I was like, the way you beat this is we sell, we go buy a trailer, we live in a trailer until the bubble pops, and then we buy, and then we make a lot of money on that money. But I said, and you can't even rent for less than $2,000 or crazy amount. So you would be taking that money that you would be putting in your house. So you'd have to downgrade a lot to be able to beat that bubble. And if I didn't have 2 kids, and I would do that for a fact, no doubt.
So we bought in 06 where we are. We sold in 06. Mm-hmm. I sold a piece of property that was 5 acres to a developer. So we did great.
Yeah, awesome.
Except 07 happened.
Yes.
And then values tanked.
Yeah.
Right? But when you have money at 3%, it's free money.
Yes, it is. Yeah, so we got lucky. We were time. I say we got lucky, but I would never buy unless it was I'm disciplined like that, I guess. I don't know. I'm not gonna. I don't want to. I want to feel like I've won every time, and I won by a lot every time. So we bought in 08, and we bought this house for like $90,000, and we sold it 6 years later for $145,000, and then we do it again. I'm like, we're not doing that. So we're refining now, and we're gonna do a refi for 15 years, and that's how I'm gonna win.
So the land I sold, I bought it REO from the bank. They had offers for more money than I had put on the table, but I told them I'd close it in 12 days and did so. So I sold at the high, but I was so busy I didn't have a chance to go and look around and try to find a house that I didn't have to work on. My wife and my real estate agent looked at 125 homes, and I kept bracketing the price up to try to find something we could live in. And of course, '08 happened, and so that value fell. So I've been through that bubble.
Yeah.
We've sat on it, and the value's up. But, it's how do you win on each game, right?
You don't. I mean, you can't win on every game, but you can be disciplined enough that I can walk away from any deal. Any deal. I'm the guy that, and Tristan, you tell me if y'all did this, because I told them that I used to do this, and I still do it. We got free plane tickets to Orlando like 4 years ago, because if I fly by myself and they ask for a volunteer to get off, I raise my hand every time. And then I negotiate with them in the hallway, the aisle of the plane, and go, nah, I'm not going to do 200. You can give me 400 and I'll get off this plane right now. And they'll do it. You can negotiate how much they'll give you for the next flight. You could do it right there. And people don't know that. At one point, I had like 15, 20 vouchers at one time, and I was flying for, this is when I was, early 20s, but I don't get to do this a lot because I can't do it on the way back now because I'm, a husband and a father of two. So I've got to get on that plane and get back to my family. But on the way there, every time, baby, if they do that, I raise my hand. I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll wait for 2 hours and drink a beer and thing and get back on the plane.
Absolutely.
Every time. And it's the way to get free plane tickets.
Absolutely.
I didn't know they did that. Ask people to get off the plane.
Well, they ask for volunteers.
When they're overbooked.
When they're overbooked, they ask for volunteers, and buddy, I was a volunteer every time. When I was on Winston Cup for a couple of years, and I got to do it a lot. That's when I built up because I was flying every Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. Well, it's Thursday or Friday. I was flying to the other race, so I could do it every time.
Right.
I could do it every time, and I built up a lot of them.
I enjoyed the traveling, but I actually came off the road, and that's when I went into financial planning. Was I had missed the first 2 years of my middle son's life.
Yeah.
And I was committed with my dad traveling so much, doing all the construction. He was gone a lot, and I wanted to be there for my kids.
I couldn't do it now, Mark. There's no way. Like I can still travel if once a month for Wednesday to Friday or something, but there's no way I could do that now. But that in my early 20s, I'd see you, buddy.
It was a different game.
Yes,
it was a different game.
Yes, I'd hop in my. That's what I learned too. Is don't catch a ride home from the airport early on. It was worth my money to park my car at an off-site facility for $7 a day at that point, $7, $8, $9 a day in the early 2000s, and spend that $30 or $40 to park for those 3 or 4 days, so I could get on that tram, go to my car, and go home right there, and not sit there and wait at the airport for another hour and a half for somebody maybe to pick you up or not. I was like, you know what? There was 2 times that happened. I'm like, nah. Because you didn't know when you're getting in. You get in 2 o'clock, you're delayed, whatever, so.
Well, but you and I were flying before 9/11 happened too, so
That
it was
was
a heck of a lot of difference, and you didn't have to spend 2 hours in the airport waiting
But
around,
that was,
right?
when I was on Winston Cup, that was right after 9/11. That was 2001. The winter. It was right after. It was a weird time to fly a lot. Very, very weird time. I had this friend that was, he was an Indian, and God bless him because he was the best guy ever. But he got checked every time, and every time I walked in there with him, we get checked every time. He'd be cussing, I'd be laughing, Then I would go to the next line over to him, and he's like, "Where you going? Where you going?" I'm like, "No, man, I gotta."
I'm separating from you. I'm out.
Go through. Yeah. So, but man, what a weird time to travel. Yeah. But I did travel a lot before 9/11 too. But it was because it was straight through.
Yeah.
It was straight through, and you didn't have to. You don't even remember this. You could go. I could
Yeah, I
walk.
was in kindergarten
I could
when this
walk
happened.
straight through.
Quiet.
I could walk. I could go with you if you're flying to Miami. I could go to the gate.
Absolutely.
And come back out, no problem. You need a ticket. You didn't need anything. You had to have a ticket to go through security, and then you had to have it. But I didn't have to have a ticket to go through security. I just had to go through security, and then you could get up at the gate, and you had to give them the ticket. I couldn't get on if I didn't have a ticket, but I could go there. You can do that now, though, right? You know that.
I didn't know that.
You have to go to, they started that back some time ago, but you can go, if you want to meet somebody at the gate, you have to go through that airline that they're in and get an actual
pass.
a ticket. It looks like a boarding pass, and to go and sit there and wait for your loved one or whatever. Yeah. Especially if it's a grandmother you want to push back when they're in a wheelchair or something. They let you do that, but you have to be checked.
I've only been on a plane once.
Did y'all do that,
So
Tristan?
I don't know any of this.
I didn't get the chance.
No chance.
On the way back.
Well, it's probably hard right now because the planes are not full all the way. You know.
They were. I mean, well, I guess that makes sense. 'Cause
Yeah.
there's seats in between. So.
Yeah. Well, if they're not full, then because they don't look, they want to leave people in between, but they don't have to right now. They don't have to. They just want to do that. Supposedly, it's travel together, sit together. That's the thing. But I've been on a plane 3 or 4 times since COVID, and me and Chris went. It was a pretty full plane to South Florida, so
They're trying to ramp them back up. I hear that most of them are going to start seating the center aisle in May. That's what I've heard recently.
I bought tickets to Hawaii. I tell all them this, but when things like this happen, if you got the money and you want to go to Italy or you want to go to Hawaii or you want to go to Alaska, if that's your dream thing, and you got to make sure it's a credit for credit thing, not a voucher, a credit for credit trip, because they'll do it. You just got to tell them to put it in there. So I bought 4 round trip tickets to Hawaii in May 2020, $500 a piece.
Right.
So
Having cash on hand is a beautiful thing.
It's good. It's good. And
Is that a good deal for that?
Yeah, they're usually $1,500 a piece to Hawaii.
Oh,
So it's a really good deal.
okay, yeah.
Right.
That
Yeah.
sounded expensive to me.
$2,000 for 4 people to Hawaii? It's all the way across the earth.
Yeah, it's like a 14-hour
half-
total flight, right?
All the way across the earth.
It's halfway to Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's
The math
what's
throws me
4?
off.
It's actually about 11 and a half hour trip. I think that's what it is. Yeah. Yeah, but you can get good deals in times like that.
When you have cash is king, and they've always said that, right?
Yeah. So, you live and learn. Somebody taught me that at some point. I didn't make it up. So
Hey, that's the best, most successful people are copy machines.
that's it. No, that's exactly right. That's what I am. I'm a master coffee machine. Then
Exactly.
What is your dream trip that you haven't done?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I think I used to love to play a lot of golf.
Yeah.
Don't do that as much. Can't take 5 hours out of a day, so
It's hard.
I enjoy playing softball. That's my kind of what I do to get away.
Softball takes more time than that.
Not, but I
You
can
got to
take
practice, and
I
you got to
don't.
go to thing, and then you
Not
got.
at my age, we don't practice.
I know,
anymore.
but you just do one game a week, an hour.
yeah,
Is that what you do? Okay.
Exactly.
Because some of these guys are into it. They're like whole weekend warriors.
I do that too.
Okay. That's a lot.
I just came back from a weekend playing up in Nashville.
Okay.
That sounds like so much fun. I used to play softball and I miss it.
Oh, it is.
You said you weren't good though.
No.
Yeah, you did.
Said
You said
I
wasn't
wasn't awesome.
that- She goes, I wasn't that good. That's the first time I'm like, well, I guess that's honest.
But you know,
but I
it's just-
loved playing.
There you go.
Yeah,
That's
it
what
was
it's
fun.
about, right? Like you find the
My
level of
10-year-old
competition
gymnast
to
would
play.
say no. It's not what it's all about. She'd say it's about winning. And I agree with her.
Oh, yeah.
You need to have fun, but this is what she said, which I laughed my ass off, but she said, she was talking to my 7-year-old daughter, and she goes, is it more fun to win? And she said, no, it's just, if you're having fun, it's like, no. She's like, no, it's way more fun to win. She wanted to win at the argument too. She's
yeah.
like, it's way more fun to win.
I now have grandkids at those ages.
Yeah.
So I think back to, we were talking about September 11th. My oldest son was 12 years old in July of 2011. I was in Vegas for a convention. And a friend of mine actually took us out to play golf at Nellis Air Force Base.
Nice.
Nellis Air Force Base is the home of the Thunderbirds, which is like the Blue Angels, except it's
Yeah.
the Air Force,
Yep.
right? And he was retired E9, and he goes, they're bringing the Thunderbirds in. They're getting ready to do an air show. Take him up to Dayton, Ohio for an air
Cool.
show. And he goes, hey, do you mind showing this guy's son around? He may want to go to the academy. Turns out my son became a CPA first and said, I don't want to do this anymore. Now he's a pilot in the Air Force.
Incredible.
Oh, wow.
So
Good for him.
my mentor, one of my first mentors in the merchant services game was a Thunderbird. And then he ran the circuit for 2 years. Like he was the head of the Thunderbird circuit, because It's a whole thing, They're going from city to city. He was the concierge guy. He was the guy that everybody, what time are they going to be here? So he ran the whole circuit for a couple of years. But the funniest thing that the coolest thing that he ever told me, it was a cool story. And he was at the airport, and a guy had a flight jacket on, and it said Mach 2.0. And Scott walked over to the guy. I was like, "Hey, how are you doing?" Introduced himself. And he said, yeah, I was part of the Thunderbirds. And he's like, "Oh, that's great. I was in the Navy, the Navy is Blue Angels.
Blue Angels,
yeah,
right.
I was in the Navy, so I was more of a Blue Angels guy. They go back and forth. He's like, "Well, you're missing a decimal." And he goes, and looked at his thing, he's like, "No, I'm not." He goes, "At 2.0, and he's like, "Nah." He goes, "I'm an astronaut." So
Wow.
it's like that saying, there's always a bigger fish. He's like, "Oh, shit." He goes, "Yeah."
I just got leapfrogged.
Yeah. So it puts you in your place. There's always a bigger fish. He's like, "Yep, he went there."
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That I'll go back to a conversation we were talking about how the sense of rebuilding someone's home,
Yep.
right? Mm-hmm. And so my youngest son helps me some too, right? He's 23, engineer, and he came home at Thanksgiving and he goes, "Dad, now I really understand why you enjoy this." He says, "We really help people." Mm-hmm. He says, "They're so thankful for the job that we do." It's pretty cool for a 23-year-old to start figuring that out, right?
Yeah.
No, it's fact. I mean, you do help people for sure. No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
Were you up in Chattanooga? I think it was 2 years ago, or doing any roofs up there when that tornado came through?
I've been doing some since that. That was actually, it was a
Yeah.
year ago, April, that happened.
Because my husband, he has a dumpster company. And when he found out about that, we actually drove up there. And we were talking to people, and he took like 4-hour trips back and forth and coming to get dumpsters, bringing them up there. And I've never seen that kind of damage in person. I haven't seen a lot of things. I always tell them I need to get out more and do more. But something like that
We're
I've never
getting
seen
there.
in person. And yeah, that was
There's
crazy.
a lot of
You're
devastation
still,
up there, and they're still
Yeah.
they're still trying to rebuild.
like they look like, how doll houses, they're like halfway open, you can see all of it. That's what they look like.
Yep,
I've seen
took
it.
walls off.
Blew my freaking mind.
I've seen it before. It's wild.
And
It's,
you're still working on those? Wow.
they're still working on communities in New Orleans
Right.
from
Katrina, like in 06.
I mean, they're still working on things like that. They've condemned a lot of things, like, it's not going to come back till a developer comes back and buys it and builds it up. So that's all over the world. I mean, those things. Haiti earthquake, still building, still trying to build clean water, which is, you got to kind of be glad where you are in America, that except maybe Flint, Michigan, but we have clean water. There's a lot of people that don't have clean water.
The people don't understand how blessed we are as a country.
We are. Yep.
They don't. If they don't travel, they don't see anything. They don't have any concept of what
Yep. No, for sure. What real poverty is about.
the poorest person in our country is. The top 20% wealthiest in the world.
That's right. No, it's
I didn't
true.
know that.
Think about
It's
that.
true. No, it's
Wow.
true.
The poorest person in our country is in the top 20% in the world.
Yep. The poorest person in Kuwait is probably the top 10% in
Could
the world.
be, right?
Yeah. So it's all relative, right?
Right.
A janitor's making 150 grand a year there, but it's all relative. That guy's poor. You
Right.
know. So do you know who David Blaine is?
David Blaine.
Yeah. I hate to call him just
Illusionist?
Yeah.
magician, illusionist. Extreme.
Is he not Mind Freak, or is that Chris Angel?
No, that's Chris Angel.
Yeah.
He does extreme type stuff. Like he stood on a podium for 24 hours or something like that in New York. He just did the YouTube thing where he flew up. He had how many ever balloons attached to his arm and went up 30,000 feet and then parachuted down.
Okay.
Like that's not a trick. He really does it.
Right.
He puts things through his arms and his things, and it's not a trick. He's really doing it. He's really doing it. That's why
Like really bleeding.
Well, Rogan poked him in a place where he did bleed. He's like, you do it, but he's done it so much. He's trained it's probably got a lot of scar tissue in there and does that. But he, so there was an old magician that used to do the fire breathing thing and then put it out with water. So he would drink just tons and tons of water, but he had to keep it there, and he had to train this guy. And this was like in the 20s. I can't even remember this guy's name. You could probably look this guy up that he learned it from, because it was on. But he had maybe from the 30s or 40s. This guy was on TV, so that's how you could see it. He was like, how did he do it? He's learning how do I drink all this water, hold it basically as an aquarium in my thing, and then put it back up, because he knows I can drink the kerosene, blow the fire and put the water out, right? Well, he saw a random video in I'm trying to say a village in Africa, where a guy was just protruding water. Is that the right word? Protruding?
Projecting.
I don't know. Projecting, yes, fine. Water all over the place. We'll go with that one. All over his T-shirt, wrapping it up and putting it around his thing. It was just gallons of water, And so because he still didn't know how to do that. So he went and put ads all over. He didn't know this video, he couldn't really see where they were. So he put ads up all over this African community or whatever. I need this guy, I'll pay him money, and he found him. He found this guy, and the guy goes, what are you, a magician? He goes, no, I do that to have clean water on me all the time. He taught himself to have clean water on him all the time, and he could just, have it on him all the time. So he taught him how to do that. So he doesn't do the kerosene thing anymore. He did it a few times, but he doesn't do it. It's too dangerous. The guy, that magician a long time ago, died from that trick.
Right.
He died from that trick. So now he just swallows frogs and goldfish, and it's like a little aquarium and his thing. So when he's at a party, he'll be like, just have a frog on him. So he just does crazy stuff like that. You'll see him. He's a pretty interesting character.
We've seen that in some movies too, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. That's a fact.
Oh, that's in a movie?
One of the Harry Potters. Remember he was sitting there throwing up the frogs.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah,
for sure.
No,
Yeah. All right, so top layer roofing. How can we help you? What are you looking for in a referral partner? What are you looking for in a client? How can we get a hold of you? Go that way.
Right. So, we like to create partnerships, right? So one of Stephen Covey,
Sure.
Seven Habits. Yep. Said seek win-win, right? Mm-hmm. So if you seek win-lose, I win, you lose, we both lose. Right. If I seek you win and I lose, we both lose.
That's
so we
right.
seek win-win, right? So customers we love to work with customers, somebody who cares about their home, right? Mm-hmm. That's kind of high on the priority list. We're looking for some people that are value-based with us. It's real interesting because you talked about Chattanooga. So last year, the tornado happened roughly around my mom's birthday. Oh. And my brother and I own the business together. So we're both being from Chattanooga. We have some contacts up there, right? And so we decided we'd go up and meet in Chattanooga, go say hi to Mom, right? And I knew that there was a roofing company that had been in town, and I knew somebody who'd worked for it. And I went to high school with him, right? Mm-hmm. All those years ago. And so I'm literally driving in the neighborhood, and I see his brother.
Cool.
And his brother now works for me. He starts interviewing me. He sees me with the top layer roofing shirt on, and he starts interviewing me, which is kind of a unique proposition. But
that's a good thing, though.
Right.
That's such a great situation for a business owner.
Right.
It really is.
Right. Because he's looking for somebody that meets his values too, right? And so, for me, we love to create those relationships, both in-house and out-house. One of the things that's I talked about it, but my subs have been with me anywhere from 7 to 9 years. Mm. Now, how do you get that to happen?
You keep paying them.
You pay them well, you treat them well, right? Like, people don't understand it in today's times. Everybody wants a deal, right? I got news for you. If I was the lowest paying guy to my subs, do you think you would answer the phone with as busy as we've been?
No, they wouldn't answer the phones, but they also, paying on time. Roofers are notorious. I had those 2 crews for the year and a half, 2 years, and my partner that bought the company, he worked for another 3 years and then sold it again. But he had those same 2 crews, and I told him, I was like, if you pay roofers, 2 weeks in the rears, from when they did it, and you do it on the time that Friday, they'll never leave you because they've been, stopped by so many other roofers. We're like, oh, I'll pay you that when that comes in. It'd be a month, 2 months, 3 months, and they're just so far back, and sometimes they don't get paid.
Oh, yeah, that's never happened in my company.
No,
right?
I'm sure not. But you've heard the stories.
Oh, absolutely. We went up and talked to a large project, and looking at doing some new roofing, right? Mm-hmm. And it was they're talking about just us building 50, 60 roofs a year for them. Right?
Cool.
So fairly good sized project, right?
New houses?
Uh-huh.
Great.
And I looked at him and I said, there's 2 things that I want you to know. I said, I've been in business for over 20 years, right? I haven't had a W-2 paycheck since I was in my early 30s. And I said, I know the difference between living on profit and living on cash flow. And I also want you to know that my guys don't need practice. If I can't come in and work out a way with you to make some money, then I don't need to do the work.
That's right.
And it was really funny because the guy turned around back to me and said, we've used the cheapest thing we could do for the last 3 years. We have warranty work out the ear, and it's killing us. And it's ruined our reputation. Hello? There's a partnership that we're creating.
Yeah, so that's that's a contractor, general contractor?
Yep.
And a builder?
Yep.
Okay. Love it. So general contractors, real estate agents,
sure, probably
really good referral partners for you.
Absolutely.
Any of the other trades, electricians, people that are in people's houses, landscapers?
Landscapers, painters, right? Chimney repair people.
There you go.
Gutter cleaners would probably be the really good ones there. Property managers. As a matter of fact, we've done some work in this property.
Cool.
When you first come in on the first building on the right, the 100 building, it's got those white facades on the top of the roof. Well, they were leaking, so we had to repair that.
Yeah, these roofs were probably replaced, 3-4 years ago? Something like that.
Right. Well, and this kind of goes to something else. There was did a flat roof for somebody, and it was really kind of funny. So he pushed me real hard to do his warranty. He said, the guy that I've been using forever and ever won't come out because of COVID. And I'm like, look, COVID's a deal. I get it. But we're still going to move forward, right? And he wants these different warranties. As generally the reason in the flat roof business, we take a shorter warranty and then pass it over to the larger company is because it protects you, right? And then he called me out to another one of his facilities, and he goes, what good's the warranty if I can't get the guy back out?
Nothing,
right? So our tagline of our company is your trusted roofer for life.
There you go.
Right? So we want to build, like everything, I think you kind of got a sense. We're trying to build the relationship and come back to it, right? So, there's the property managers. We've done a lot of different things with property managers, but it's a lot of referral relationships. It's the transfer of trust, right? So if somebody asks me about a trade, I can easily recommend somebody that I know, right? And a lot of times there's somebody who's actually done work for me, right? But I know that they'll take care of their customer because I'm handing my name to them too, right? One of the first things I told you, my dad said, you may not inherit any money from me, but you're going to inherit a name you can be proud of. It's the same thing, right? So we tie those two together. And I think that's the power of networking and relationships.
For sure. That is the power.
And
like the Ohio State University, or the Miami, I don't know what it is.
You're right. That is the Ohio State. Right.
That is the purpose of networking and relationships.
Right. And so it's finding the right partners, right?
Yep.
Because if you don't want to partner with somebody that doesn't respect and treat people the way you want to treat them, because what are they expecting when you get in behind that?
The same.
Exactly. So creating those relationships, creating the partnerships. I get sent out by a lot of insurance agents. I will take insurance companies to task if they're not doing the right things. I was presented one last week, right? So I have a certification as a roofer. It's called a Hague certification. And so I took the engineering course that the adjusters take to forensically identify what damage is, right?
Right, of course.
So this there's a bad shingle. It was made. It's been discontinued, and the landscaper found shingles on the ground, right?
Yep.
First two adjusters missed it, so they continued to argue, and now an engineer was sent out. So, and by the way, we're talking about a 12 square roof, so we're talking about a project
Small.
of less than $6,000,
Yeah,
and
small.
they probably spent $1,500, $2,000 on the engineer's report, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to be back in touch with the insurance company because I'm brought in completely after all these things have occurred, and the guy says, well, it's either man-made damage or it's not wind damage because none of the apertures were broken, right?
Yep.
Well, that would have disqualified every roof. None of the wind vents or any of those things blown off the roof, so it couldn't have been wind damage. That was his assessment.
Yeah.
But there's 28 shingles damage. Okay, so it's either wind damage or it's vandalism, and you still owe for it.
That's right.
And they're not trying to pay it, right?
Yep. Insurance companies.
So it's just a relationship of trying to do the right things, right?
For sure.
So the agents enjoy sending me out for that purpose.
That's awesome. How do we get a hold of you? Email address, website, phone number.
So email address is markf@tlroofing.biz. The website is topplayerroofing.biz, right? And my phone number direct is 404-784-2797.
Nice.
I keep it
Thank
with
you
me.
for coming in, Mark. We really appreciate
thank
it. Yeah, absolutely. Jordin, thank you.
Yeah,
Jordin,
thank you.
You guys have be kind to each other out there.